Hello everybody, this is Srimati Ashwini S, Assistant Professor of Mathematics. Let's study the second session with a theorem, Cauchy's first theorem on limits. The statement of the theorem says, if an converges to L, then the sequence xn will also be converging to L, where xn is equal to a1 plus a2 plus a3 and so on plus an divided by n. Let's see the proof. So we start the proof by taking let Bn is equal to An minus L. Now let's take limit on both sides as n tends to infinity. Limit n tends to infinity Bn is equal to limit n tends to infinity of An minus L. So this is equal to limit n tends to infinity An minus limit L, which is nothing but limit n tends to infinity An minus L. But we all know that limit n tends to infinity An value is equal to L. Therefore, limit n tends to infinity Bn becomes L minus L, that's equal to 0. So this implies Bn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. Let's call this as equation 1. Now we know Bn is equal to An minus L. From this equation, An is equal to Bn plus L. Now let's consider xn, which was given in the statement. Xn is equal to a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus and so on plus an divided by n. We know that an is equal to bn plus L. Let's substitute the values of a's in terms of b and L. So this implies xn is equal to, instead of a1, I would be writing it as b1 plus L plus of a2 as b2 plus L and so on plus an as bn plus L divided by n. Now when you look into the numerator, you know there are n different terms. So I am grouping it into two different terms and writing it as b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on bn plus n times L divided by n. Now since it has a common denominator, let me split them. Therefore, xn is equal to b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by n plus L. Let's call this as equation 2. Now in order to prove xn tends to L, what we have to do is, it is enough to prove that the first term, that is b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by n tends to 0. Now you know that from equation 1, bn tends to 0. Now let us use the definition of limits here. Therefore, given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive integer m such that modulus of bn minus 0 is less than epsilon. This is nothing but mod of bn is less than epsilon by 2 for all n greater than or equal to m. Let's call this as equation 3. Again, let's take bn tends to 0. This implies that the sequence bn is convergent and therefore bn is bounded. So since it is bounded, there exists a real number capital M greater than 0 such that modulus of bn is less than m for all n. Let's call this as equation 4. Now our aim is to prove equation 2. For that we would be considering let modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by n minus 0 gives us modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3 plus and so on plus bn divided by n. Now you know modulus of a by b is equal to mod a by mod b. Using that property, the previous equation is written as modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by modulus of n. And we know n belongs to natural number, hence modulus of n will be equal to plus n only. So it is rewritten as 1 by n into modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3. Now let's write down few terms in between the terms plus bm plus 1 plus and so on bn. Now next what we do is, let's group certain terms. So since I'm taking the individual modulus, it will be less than or equal to 1 by n into, in the first bracket I would be writing it as mod of b1 plus mod of b2 and so on mod of b1 bm. After taking m terms, the next term is grouped as mod of bm plus 1 plus mod of bm plus 2 plus mod of and so on plus bn. So this is less than 1 by n into, there are m terms and mod of bn is m. So it can be individually, it can be written as m plus m and so on m times plus. Now individually mod of bm plus 1 is epsilon by 2. So we have epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2 plus n minus m times. So these two are taken from equation 3 and 4. So this is nothing but less than 1 by n into small m into capital M plus n minus m into epsilon by 2. So next step what we would be doing is, we will be splitting the denominator and writing it as less than m by n into capital M plus n minus m by n into epsilon by 2. Now this is less than mm by n plus epsilon by 2. That is, n minus m by n is taken as 1. Now n minus m by n, when you take it, it has a common denominator. When I simplify it becomes 1 minus m by n. So whatever the values of m and n you are taking, still the value is going to be less than 1. Therefore, modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by n minus 0 is less than m capital M by n plus epsilon by 2. Now our aim is to show that small m into capital M by n is nothing but epsilon by 2. For that what we do is, we take a condition that m into capital M by n would be less than epsilon by 2 if it's reciprocal. That is, n divided by small m into capital M would be greater than 2 by epsilon. That is, if n is greater than 2 mm by epsilon. If p is a natural number which is greater than 2 mm by epsilon and q is equal to maximum of m comma p, then the equation is written as modulus of b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on plus bn divided by n minus 0 would be less than epsilon plus epsilon, which gives us epsilon for all n greater than or equal to p. So this implies that b1 plus b2 plus b3 plus and so on plus bn divided by n tends to 0. That is, we have used the definition of a limit here and then we have showed that the term tends to 0. From equation 2 we have xn is b1 plus b2 plus b3 plus and so on plus bn divided by n plus l. Now this xn tends to L as n tends to infinity. That is because this b1 plus b2 plus b3 and so on by n tends to 0. And what is our xn? Xn is nothing but a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus and so on plus an divided by n tends to L. So this is the proof of Cauchy's first theorem. Let's see the converse. The converse of Cauchy's first theorem on limits need not be true. Let's prove this by taking an example. Let an be equal to minus 1 raised to n. Now an is written as a1 plus a2 plus a3 and so on plus an divided by n. This would be 0 if n is even. It is minus 1 by n if n is odd. So that as n tends to infinity, our a1 plus a2 plus a3 and so on plus an divided by n tends to 0. But we all know that an is equal to minus 1 raised to n is divergent. Therefore, converse of Cauchy's first theorem on limits need not be true. This implies limit n tends to infinity an is equal to L is not true always. The references are again a textbook of college mathematics by G.K. Ranganath and another book is Sequences and Infinite Series by N.P. Bali. Thank you, dear students.